I never thought I would live to see the day when the entire Galactic Council would sit in complete, terrified silence. But there I was, all four of my eye stalks focused on the human delegation, watching them smile. That damn smile. You know the one. The kind that says, "Oh, we know exactly what we are doing, and you are not going to like it. My name is Vorath, Senior Trade Auditor for the Galactic Banking Consortium, and I have been tracking human financial activities for exactly 7 cycles. 7 cycles of watching them borrow, spend, and somehow, impossibly, thrive despite every economic model screaming that they should have collapsed by now. The humans owed us. Everyone knew it. 40 trillion credits. That was the number. 40 trillion credits borrowed to rebuild Earth after the Scourge War, the conflict that nearly wiped them from existence. We gave them the loans because, well, what else were they going to do? Die quietly. The Council preferred them alive, if only barely, and certainly in debt. But then something changed. It started small. Reports from the outer colonies. Human merchant vessels appearing in sectors they had no business being in. Human mining operations on asteroids that our surveys had marked as worthless. Human scientists publishing research that made our top academics look like hatchlings playing with building blocks. Then came the patents. Oh, the patents. I remember the exact moment I realized we had made a mistake. I was reviewing the quarterly report, sipping my morning nutrient paste, when I saw it. Patent registration number HTX 9012. A human invention. Something called a quantum splice drive. The description made no sense. The mathematics looked like they had been written by someone having a fever dream. But the test results? The test results were real. Faster than light travel. 50% more efficient than anything currently in use. And the humans owned it. I dropped my nutrient paste. It splattered across my desk. I did not care. Within a week, every major shipping corporation in the galaxy was knocking on Earth's door, begging, pleading, offering absurd amounts of money for licensing rights. The humans? They just smiled and said, "Sure, we can talk. 50,000 credits per ship, per year. Take it or leave it." They took it. All of them. Then came the medical breakthrough. Dr. Elena Reeves, a human physician who looked like she had not slept in 6 months, published a paper on cellular regeneration. Not the slow, gradual kind we had been using for centuries. No, this was complete organ regrowth in 48 hours. 48 hours. Species across the galaxy that had suffered from incurable genetic diseases suddenly had hope, and the only place to get the treatment was through human medical stations. The Galactic Council tried to pressure them, demanded the technology be shared freely for the good of all sentient life. High Chancellor Brix himself made a big, dramatic speech about unity and cooperation and the greater good. The human ambassador, a woman named Victoria Lang with steel-gray hair and eyes that could cut through hull plating, stood up slowly. She adjusted her suit jacket, smiled that smile, and said, with perfect, polite venom, "How fascinating that the Council suddenly cares about sharing technology freely. Tell me, Chancellor, where was this generous spirit when my people were dying by the millions and you charged us interest rates that would make a loan shark blush?" The chamber went silent. You could have heard a pin drop in vacuum. Chancellor Brix turned a shade of purple I had never seen before on his species. But what could he say? She was right. We had squeezed them. Hard. And now? Now they were squeezing back. The humans started acquiring assets. Stations. Mining rights. Entire shipping lanes. They bought out corporations that had been established for thousands of years, paid in cash, and did it with that same infuriating smile. And the worst part? They were good at it. Terrifyingly good. I watched my own department scramble as human financial analysts ran circles around our best auditors. They exploited loopholes in treaties that had been written before their species even discovered fire. They negotiated deals that left our representatives dizzy and confused, only realizing days later that they had somehow agreed to terms heavily favoring Earth. Then came the announcement. 6 cycles into their repayment period, Ambassador Lang requested an emergency session of the Galactic Council. We all assumed it was about renegotiating terms. Maybe asking for an extension. Standard procedure. We were idiots. Lang walked into that chamber with a data pad and that smile, and I swear every instinct in my body screamed danger. She approached the central podium, set down the pad, and spoke clearly. After careful financial planning and strategic economic growth, Humanity is pleased to announce that we are prepared to repay our debt in full. Today, right now, all 40 trillion credits, plus the accumulated interest of 8.7 trillion credits. Total payment, 48.7 trillion credits. The room erupted. Impossible, someone shouted. There is no way, screamed another. Chancellor Brix demanded to see proof. Lang just tapped her datapad. Transaction confirmed. Check your accounts. I pulled up my terminal with shaking appendages. And there it was. 48.7 trillion credits, transferred in full to the Galactic Banking Consortium's primary account. Verified. Authenticated. Real. My vision blurred. This was not how debts worked. Species spent centuries paying off loans like this. Humans had done it in 7 cycles. But Lang was not finished. Now that our financial obligations are settled, she said, her voice carrying across the stunned silence, we would like to discuss humanity's new role in galactic commerce and governance. You see, when you are the single largest creditor to 73% of council member species, you get a certain degree of influence. Wait, what? I frantically started pulling up financial records. No. But the data did not lie. While we had been focused on their debt to us, the humans had been quietly, systematically buying up the debts of nearly every other species in the council. They had purchased loans, bonds, promissory notes. They had even bought out several smaller banks entirely. The humans did not just repay their debt. They had become the galaxy's banker. And as I sat there, staring at the numbers, watching Ambassador Lang's smile grow wider, I realized something that made my internal organs twist into knots. We had not just underestimated the humans. We had given them exactly the motivation they needed to surpass us all. The galaxy was about to change, and it was going to be on humanity's terms. The aftermath of that announcement was, and I am being generous here, absolute pandemonium. Chancellor Brix looked like someone had just told him his entire life savings had been converted into decorative rocks. Ambassador Lang stood at the podium, hands clasped behind her back, looking like she had just won the lottery while simultaneously solving galactic peace. Which, in a way, she had. For humans, anyway. The Visian delegate, a nervous fellow named Carlo with too many tentacles and not enough spine, was the first to crack. He shot up from his seat, voice trembling. What do you mean you hold our debts? When did this happen? How? Lang did not even blink. Oh, Delegate Carlo. Your government sold a series of infrastructure bonds 3 cycles ago to finance your moon colony expansion. We purchased them. All of them. Very reasonable terms, I might add. You're welcome. Carlo sat down so fast I heard his chair crack. I was frantically cross-referencing records now, my eye stalks moving independently across multiple screens. The scope of what humanity had done was staggering. They had not just bought debt. They had strategically positioned themselves at every critical junction of galactic finance. They owned shipping contracts, held majority shares in terraforming operations, and controlled patents on technology that every advanced civilization depended on. How did we miss this? Simple. We were not looking. We were too busy congratulating ourselves on being the creditors, on having the humans exactly where we wanted them, desperate and dependent. We never considered they might flip the entire game board. The VRYNN ambassador, a crystalline being whose name I cannot pronounce without 3 extra vocal cords, managed to compose herself. This is economic warfare, she declared, her voice resonating through the chamber. You have manipulated the markets, exploited our trust, and positioned yourselves to control the council through financial leverage. Lang tilted her head, expression somewhere between amused and disappointed. Ambassador, with all due respect, we did exactly what your species has done to emerging civilizations for the past 2,000 years. We simply did it faster. And better. She paused. Also, your government still owes us 12 billion credits from that fusion reactor deal last year. Payment is due next month. Just a friendly reminder. The VRYNN ambassador turned a shade that I am fairly certain indicated severe distress among her people. Then came the question everyone was thinking, but nobody wanted to ask. It came from old Magistrate Kelvin, a Drusk who had been on the council longer than most species had possessed space travel. He leaned forward, his ancient eyes locked on Lang. What do you want? Finally. The right question. Lang's smile softened. Just slightly. What we want, Magistrate, is very simple. Respect. Fair trade agreements. An actual seat at the table when decisions affecting the galaxy are made. Not an observer position where we watch you decide our fate. We want the same opportunities, the same access, the same voice that every other species enjoys. Nothing more. Nothing less. Silence. Heavy, uncomfortable silence. And if we refuse? Chancellor Brix asked, though his voice had lost most of its earlier authority. Lang shrugged. Then we call in our debts. Adjust interest rates. Renegotiate contracts. Standard business practices, really. I'm sure your economists can explain to your populations why suddenly everything costs 3 times as much and infrastructure projects have stalled indefinitely. It was a threat wrapped in politeness, delivered with the efficiency of a surgical strike. And every single member of the council knew she was not bluffing. I watched the political calculations happen in real time across dozens of faces and appendages. Species who had spent centuries building their positions of power suddenly faced with the reality that a relative newcomer had outmaneuvered them completely. The vote was called within the hour. Humanity was granted full council membership with complete voting rights. The measure passed unanimously. What else could they do? But here is the thing nobody talks about, the part that keeps me awake during my rest cycles. The humans could have destroyed us. They could have called in every debt, crashed every economy, and brought the entire Galactic Order to its knees. They had that power. They chose not to. Instead, Lang stood before the council after the vote and proposed something nobody saw coming. The Galactic Economic Stability Initiative, a human-designed program to restructure debts across the galaxy, provide low-interest development loans to struggling colonies, and establish fair trade standards that prevented the kind of predatory lending that had trapped Earth in the first place. They were not just changing the game. They were rewriting the rules to make it fair. Over the following months, I watched something remarkable happen. Human financial advisors worked alongside species that had barely acknowledged their existence before. Human engineers shared technology freely with civilizations that needed it most. Human diplomats negotiated treaties that actually benefited all parties involved instead of just the powerful. It was infuriating. It was brilliant. It was so incredibly human. I had a conversation with Ambassador Lang 6 months after that historic session. We were both attending a conference on trade regulation, and I found myself sitting next to her during a break. I had to ask, why? Why help us after everything we did to your people? She looked at me with those sharp eyes, and for the first time, I saw something beyond the strategist, beyond the negotiator. I saw someone who remembered what desperation felt like. Because, Vorith, that is not just about numbers. It's about power. And when you have power over someone, you have a choice. You can use it to keep them down, keep them desperate, keep them in their place. Or you can help them up. She smiled, softer this time. We remember what it felt like to be crushed under obligations we could never escape. We would not wish that on anyone, not even the species who put us there. I did not know what to say to that. The galaxy did change. Humanity made sure of it. They are now the largest economy in council space. Their technology drives our ships, heals our sick, and powers our stations. And yes, they hold significant financial influence over most member species. But here is the terrifying, wonderful truth that I have come to accept. The galaxy is better for it. Humanity repaid their debt. Then they bought ours. And instead of becoming the tyrants they had every right to become, they became something we never expected. They became fair. And that, more than any weapon, fleet, or economic power, is what truly makes them dangerous. Because you cannot fight fair. You cannot scheme against it. You cannot undermine it without revealing yourself as the villain. The humans won. Not through conquest. Not through war. They won by being better than we ever were. And may the stars help us all, because the galaxy will never be the same. So what did you think? Did this story surprise you? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this sci-fi story, please hit the like button. It really helps the channel grow. And don't forget to subscribe for more mind-blowing science fiction stories every week. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.